Club.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Vielleicht nur als
Asia and good evening America. You're watching World DNA with me, Jyotsna Kumar.
And I'm Raisha Sehgal. On the show today, we continue to track what is happening in West Asia. The United Nations World Food Programme has paused movement of its staff in Gaza after one of its vehicles was struck by gunfire at Israeli checkpoint. Meanwhile, Yemen's Houthis have agreed to allow rescue vessels to reach a crude oil tanker that is burning in the Red Sea. We will be tracking that on World DNA this morning.
And also on the show today, France has charged Telegram founder and chief Pavel Durov with a litany of violations related to the messaging app and has banned him from leaving the country. Meanwhile, the tech mogul's lawyer has said that Telegram complies in all respects with European rules concerning digital technology. We'll get you all the latest on that, but first the headlines.
French prosecutors placed Telegram CEO Pavel Durov in formal investigation over probe into organized crime on the messaging app. Durov allowed to walk free with €5 million bail but banned from leaving France.
UN Food Program pauses movement of its staff in Gaza after one of its vehicles struck by gunfire at an Israeli military checkpoint. Palestinian authorities claim at least 10 people killed during latest Israeli operation in West Bank.
The United States announces new sanctions on Israeli settlers in the West Bank over violence against Palestinians, urges Israel to bring greater accountability.
In a historic first for Iran, President Masoud Pezeshkian appoints Fatmeh Mohanjarani as new government spokesperson, the first woman to hold this position.
UN officials raise concerns over incidents around nuclear facilities in Ukraine and Russia. Security Council calls for maximum restraint to avoid a nuclear disaster.
Bangladesh's interim government revokes ban on Jamaat-e-Islami and its student wing less than a month after the organization was outlawed by former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina.
Berkshire Hathaway becomes the first U.S. company outside of the tech sector to surpass $1 trillion in market value. The stock has rallied this year on strong insurance results and economic optimism.
Authorities issue highest level warning for wind and storm surges after Typhoon Sansan makes landfall into Japan's main southern island of Kyushu. It advises thousands of people to evacuate.
At least 15 people killed and more than 23,000 evacuated in the Indian state of Gujarat after heavy flooding caused by torrential rains in the state.
The Paralympics Games are underway after a spectacular opening ceremony in the heart of Paris. Thousands of athletes parade down the famed Champs-Élysées to Place de la Concorde.
France has charged Telegram founder Pavel Durov with a litany of violations related to the messaging app.
And yet they have also banned him from leaving the country while allowing the billionaire to walk free after 4 days under arrest. A French judge put Pavel Durov under formal investigation, granting conditional release against a bill of €5 million and on the condition that he must report to a police station within twice a week, remaining in France.
Following a hearing with investigating magistrates in Paris, 39-year-old Durov has been charged on several counts of failing to curb extremist and illegal content on the popular messaging app.
He has also been charged with refusing to share documents demanded by authorities, dissemination in an organized group of images of minors, and child pornography, as well as drug trafficking, fraud, and money laundering. His lawyer said it was absurd to suggest Durov could be implicated in any crime committed on the app, adding that Telegram complies in all respects with European rules concerning digital technology.
And finally, I'd like to add that it's totally absurd to think that the head of a social network could be involved in criminal acts that don't concern him either directly or indirectly.
Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova declared that the arrest of the Telegram founder and CEO has caused shock throughout the world.
This story is not only about Russia's reaction. We reacted as Russian diplomats were obliged to react in this case, when it was about the detention of a Russian citizen. But it seems to me that, well, it would not be an exaggeration to say that the whole world experienced a greater shock than ever before from the actions of representatives of the collective West.
Separately, Durov is also reportedly being investigated on suspicion of serious acts of violence towards one of his children. While he and the boy's mother, Durov's ex-partner, were in Paris, she filed another complaint against Durov in Switzerland last year.
Russian-born Durov was arrested in Paris late on Saturday and then questioned in subsequent days under arrest by the investigators. Well, being placed under formal investigation in France does not imply guilt or lead to trial. Investigations can last years before being sent to trial or shelved. Meanwhile, amid this row, the United Arab Emirates has reportedly suspended the deal with France for the supply of 80 Rafale fighter jets. UAE has been closely following the case of Pavel Durov, who is an Emirati citizen. Moving on, Russia and Ukraine have traded blame for endangering the safety of nuclear plants during the course of the war.
A senior UN official has raised concerns over incidents around Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia and Russia's Kursk nuclear plants. Listen in.
We are alarmed regarding reported incidents around the nuclear facilities in Ukraine and Russia. In August, the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, reported deterioration of the nuclear safety situation at Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant.
Well, as the frontline battle rages on amid Ukraine's incursion into Russia's Kursk region, the safety of the Kursk nuclear power plant has become paramount.
In the latest, Russia claims its sappers have defused a shell from a U.S.-supplied HIMARS multiple-launch rocket system just 5 kilometers from the Kursk nuclear plant. It claims to have found a rocket fragment stuffed with 180 unexploded munitions. However, there has been no immediate comment from Ukraine on the purported Russian find.
Meanwhile, Russia says it wants the International Atomic Energy Agency to take a more objective and clearer stance on nuclear safety. And this comes a day after the agency had visited the Russian nuclear power plant, warning of serious consequences.
The nuclear plant lies some 60 kilometers from the Russia-Ukraine border next to the same river and less than 50 kilometers away from Kursk city. The plant has 4 reactor units, though only 2 are operational and 2 more reactors are under construction. All 4 reactors are of the same type as Ukraine's Chernobyl nuclear power plant without a protecting dome around them.
Well, Russia has repeatedly sounded the alarm over a possible hit since Ukrainian troops and tanks charged into Kursk. Just last week, Russian President Vladimir Putin accused Ukraine of trying to attack the Kursk nuclear power plant.
Russian forces are making significant advances and employing aggressive tactics across multiple fronts.
Well, it looks like the balance of power appears to be tilting in Moscow's favor now. Our next story examines the current situation and its potential implications for the ongoing war. Take a look.
In a bold demonstration of military might, Russia has intensified its offensive operations on multiple fronts, showcasing a concerning ability to project force both within and beyond its borders. Russia has increased the sharpness of its attack on Kursk. Moscow has released these images showing Sukhoi Su-34 fighter bombers conducting bombing runs on Russian soil currently under Ukrainian control. Russia's military claims that 400 Ukrainian personnel were killed in the Kursk region in the last 24 hours. Moscow has also released images showing destruction of Western weapons used by Ukraine. Russia's relentless bombardment of Ukraine this week has showcased its formidable arsenal of attack drones and missiles. The nationwide strikes, which targeted over 15 regions, involved a devastating combination of drones, cruise missiles and hypersonic Kinzhal missiles. These attacks have inflicted significant damage to Ukraine's infrastructure, including its critical energy grid. Returning the favor, Ukrainian drones struck 2 fuel depots in southwest Russia's Rostov region. On the battlefield of eastern Ukraine, Russia continues to inch forward, claiming more territory. As Russian forces close in on Pokrovsk, a crucial logistical hub in the Donbas region, concerns are mounting over the town's potential capture. Falling into Russian hands, Pokrovsk would severely disrupt Ukrainian supply lines along the eastern front and bolster Moscow's campaign to seize the strategically important city of Chasiv Yar. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Well, from one war front to another, after one of its vehicles came under fire, the United Nations World Food Programme on Wednesday suspended the movement of its employees across Gaza Strip.
Now, the agency said that one of its vehicles, which was clearly marked, was hit with at least 10 bullets as it approached a military checkpoint, and that the convoy of 2 armored vehicles received multiple clearances by Israeli authorities to approach. The World Food Programme added that this was the first time its vehicle was directly shot at, despite having necessary security clearances. They said that the vehicle was a few meters away from the Israeli checkpoint when it came under fire, although no one was hurt.
Responding to these accusations and claims, the Israeli military issued a statement saying that the incident was under review. The statement said that Israel was committed to improve coordination and security with humanitarian organizations to ensure the supply of aid within the Gaza Strip.
The incident is one among many where aid or humanitarian agencies came under fire within the Gaza Strip. In April, World Kitchen staff convoy was hit by Israeli airstrikes while traveling through Gaza, killing 7 of its staff. The UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said that its operations in Gaza were severely restricted by hostilities, insecurity, and mass evacuation orders, impacting the transport and distribution of aid.
Meanwhile, hundreds of Israeli troops on Wednesday stormed the cities of Jenin and Tulkarem, killing at least 10 Palestinians. The operation was backed by helicopters, drones, and armored personnel carriers. The UN Human Rights has condemned the Israeli security operations in West Bank.
On the other hand, Israeli military recovered the body of a soldier abducted by Gaza militants during the October 7 attack. The IDF said that the rescue operation took place overnight without disclosing the identity of the deceased soldier.
A major operation by Israeli security forces in the occupied West Bank risks seriously deepening an already catastrophic situation. Israel's operations in Jenin, in Tubas, and in Tulkarm today takes the overall death toll in the West Bank since 7th of October to 637 people killed. Many children have been killed while throwing stones at highly protected Israeli security forces, as have other Palestinians, posing no imminent threat to life.
Moving on, with just about 2 months left for the U.S. presidential elections, both Democrat and Republican camps have intensified their campaigning efforts.
Now, in the latest, Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance once again slammed his opponent Tim Walz and Vice President Kamala Harris while addressing a rally in Pennsylvania. Vance criticized Walz for lying on his military record. He also blamed Harris for her role during the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan. Listen to what he said.
Is disgraceful. We're going to talk about a story out of those 13 brave, innocent Americans who lost their lives. It's that Kamala Harris is so asleep at the wheel that she won't even do an investigation into what happened, and she wants to yell at Donald Trump because he showed up. She can go to hell.
Vance also defended Republican nominee Donald Trump's camp after the former president's entourage reportedly they spoke about at the Arlington National Cemetery earlier this week. Vance blamed the media for turning it into a national news story.
Well, I think, first of all, the altercation at Arlington Cemetery is the media creating a story where I really don't think that there is one. Now, it is amazing to me that you have apparently somebody at Arlington Cemetery, some staff member, had a little disagreement with somebody, and the media has turned this into a national news story.
This comes after the former President Donald Trump was invited to the Arlington National Cemetery to pay homage to the 13 U.S. soldiers who died in the suicide bombing attacks at Kabul in 2021. According to reports, an official of the Arlington Cemetery tried to stop Trump's aides from filming the burial sites of those died in recent wars, which is strictly prohibited. In response, Trump's staff resorted to shoving and verbally abusing the official.
In the blue camp, Democratic presidential contestant Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz took a bus tour to campaign in the state of Georgia. Both Harris and Walz addressed high school students at Liberty County on Wednesday. The bus tour is set to conclude with a rally at Savannah on Thursday. Notably, the Democrats won the 2020 elections in the state of Georgia by the narrowest of margins.
That's who you are, and that's why we are so confident in everything that you are doing.
Well, Georgia was one state that made headlines long after the 2020 U.S. presidential polls. After voting in red for 6 consecutive elections, Joe Biden had managed to flip the state blue.
But by less than 12,000 votes, that is. Still today, Donald Trump claims that the Democrats stole the election in Georgia. So with less than 70 days to go for presidential elections, the swing state is back in the news, this time for an election rule.
Georgia State Election Board has adopted a new rule that allows officials to refuse to certify an election. What this means is that some local election boards can choose to not officiate the results after voting. And the immediate after effect would be a delay in finalizing poll results. The state and National Democratic parties have sued the state board for this. They are arguing that the rules violate an existing law that makes certification a compulsory duty and not a choice.
Democrats further accuse the body of exceeding its legal authority. Georgia's state election board is now dominated by allies of Donald Trump, and those in support are arguing that county election board is just fulfilling its duty, noting that each board member must swear an oath to compile true and perfect results. Now let's take a look at how Georgia has voted in the last 5 elections.
In the last election, there was just a 0.2% difference when, as we told you, Biden flipped the state after 6 Democratic losses. In 2016, the winning margin was 5.2%. In 2012, 7.8%. In 2008, it was again 5.2%. Lastly, in 2004, there was a 16.6% difference, the largest in the 5 elections that we are looking at.
Now, 2004 was the same year George Bush won re-elections, and the state clearly played an important role in that. Which side Georgia will swing this time remains to be seen. And well, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tayani sent us this report on the significance of Harris and Walz's Southeast Georgia campaign. Listen in.
Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz's tour throughout Georgia really demonstrates a move to connect with voters in rural areas in that battleground state. The tour marks their first joint visit to Georgia, demonstrating the campaign's investment in that state, which President Biden won by a narrow margin in 2020 with over 170 Democratic volunteers in 24 coordinated offices. The campaign hopes to replicate that success in 2024.
Well, Susan further explains how this visit impacts the presidential race in Georgia and what are the implications for the November polls.
Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz's visit to Georgia highlights the state's crucial role in this year's presidential election. With President Biden winning a slim victory in 2020 by 12,000 votes, Georgia remains a pivotal battleground state. That's why the Harris campaign has invested heavily in the state, combined with the joint tour that we're seeing now. It demonstrates their commitment to winning Georgia. At least that's what they hope. However, with former President Donald Trump leading in polls by roughly 3 percentage points, which is in the margin of error in Georgia, the GOP also sees an opportunity to flip the state this year. The outcome in Georgia will significantly impact the path to 270 electoral votes, making this visit a crucial moment for the presidential race.
As variants of the Mpox virus mutate at a breakneck pace, the African Center for Disease Control and Prevention has released a worrying report.
The ACDC has revealed that it has been unable to secure enough funds to curb an outbreak of the deadly infection that the World Health Organization declared to be a global health emergency earlier this month. The next report telling you more.
Scientists studying the new Mpox strain that has spread out of the Democratic Republic of Congo say the virus is changing faster than expected. And it's often happening in areas where experts do not have the funding or equipment to properly track the virus. Reuters spoke to half a dozen scientists in Africa, Europe, and the US who outlined a number of unknowns.
We are still working blindly in Africa.
Dr. Dimiye Agoina is an infectious diseases expert in Nigeria who chairs the World Health Organization's Mpox Emergency Committee.
We don't have the required knowledge about Mpox, natural history, transmission dynamics, risk factors of Mpox. You need to understand your disease for you to develop or design preventive strategies against such a disease.
Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, is a viral infection that causes pus-filled lesions and flu-like symptoms. Cases are usually mild, but they can be deadly. The virus has been around in Africa for decades, but an international surge in 2022 prompted the WHO to declare a global health emergency for about 10 months. Now there's a new strain and a new WHO emergency declaration.
The situation constitutes a public health emergency of international concern.
The UN agency says Congo has had more than 600 Mpox deaths this year, and more than 18,000 suspected cases of the new strain and its earlier iteration. There have been cases in 4 other African countries, as well as in Sweden and Thailand among people who had traveled to Africa. Scientists say a response is complicated by several outbreaks happening at once. In some cases, the spread has been linked to human contact with infected animals. It can also spread through close contact with an infected person. Mutated versions of the virus can essentially be considered a sexually transmitted disease, says South African epidemiologist Dr. Salim Abdul Karim, who chairs the Africa CDC's Mpox Advisory Committee.
It's case identification, contact tracing, and vaccinating and monitoring and treating, giving prophylaxis to contacts. So this is not rocket science. We do this for other infections. And so we can do it for Mpox.
An Africa CDC senior official said on Wednesday that the continent has secured less than 10% of an estimated $245 million needed to fight the surging outbreak. And there's no timeline yet on when hundreds of thousands of vaccine doses might reach the DRC.
It's time for a quick break now, but don't go anywhere.
On the other side of World DNA, we'll get your story from India. The West Bengal cabinet has approved a proposal to introduce a new bill that seeks to prevent rape and ensure harsher and stricter punishments. This as widespread outrage continues over the rape and murder of a trainee doctor at Kolkata's RJ Kar Medical College and Hospital.
Also on the other side, Bangladesh's interim government has revoked a ban on the Islamic fundamentalist organization Jamaat-e-Islami, this after outlawed by former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina for 4 days prior to the fall of her government.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
As the 81st edition of the Venice Film Festival kicks off, we tell you everything about the movies in competition this year. Find out why luxury brands are hiring Indian A-listers as their ambassadors. And know some lesser-known facts about Stree 2-star Rajkumar Rao. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, at these times only on WION E-Club.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Vielleicht nur als Imposant.
Welcome back. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha and Jyotsna. There's lots lined up on the show, but first a quick check on the headlines.
French prosecutors placed Telegram CEO Pavel Durov in formal investigation over probe into organized crime on the messaging app. Durov allowed to walk free with 5 million euros bail, but banned from leaving France.
UN World Food Programme pauses movement of its staff in Gaza after one of its vehicles struck by gunfire at an Israeli military checkpoint. Palestinian authorities claim at least 10 people killed during latest Israeli operation in West Bank.
The United States announces new sanctions on Israeli settlers in the West Bank over violence against Palestinians, urges Israel to bring greater accountability.
In historic first for Iran, President Masoud Pezeshkian appoints Fatima Mohajirani as new government spokesperson, the first woman to hold this position.
UN officials raise concerns over incidents around nuclear facilities in Ukraine and Russia. Security Council calls for maximum restraint to avoid a nuclear disaster.
Bangladesh's interim government revokes ban on Jamaat-e-Islami and its student wing less than a month after the organization was outlawed by the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina.
India set to commission its second nuclear-powered submarine, INS Arikat, in a major step towards strengthening its strategic deterrence capabilities.
Berkshire Hathaway becomes the first U.S. company outside the tech sector to surpass $1 trillion in market value. The stock has rallied this year on strong insurance results and economic optimism.
Authorities issue highest level warning for wind and storm surges after Typhoon Sansan makes landfall into Japan's main southern island of Kyushu. It advises thousands of people to evacuate.
The Paralympics Games are underway after a spectacular opening ceremony in the heart of Paris. Thousands of athletes parade down the famed Champs-Élysées to Place de la Concorde.
The West Bengal government, the cabinet, has approved a proposal to introduce a new bill that seeks to prevent rape and ensure harsher punishments. This as widespread outrage continues over the rape and murder of a trainee doctor at Kolkata's R.G. Kar Medical College.
The bill is scheduled to be put forth in the State Assembly next week. But even as the country demands speedy justice and stricter measures, the focus right now appears to have shifted from the crucial investigation to the political scuffle between the parties.
A rape and murder case has turned into a turf war between the ruling Trinamool Congress and opposition Bharatiya Janata Party as they continue to fire barbs at each other. The BJP observed a 12-hour Bengal Bandh in the state to protest police action against protesters on Tuesday.
Police had fired water cannons and tear gas shells to disperse the student demonstrators in the rally. The Bengal Bandh affected daily life across the state. BJP workers tried stopping rail and bus services, leading to police action in the state.
According to police, 64 people were arrested during the Bandh and a few leaders were also detained. TMC workers organized a counter-protest at several places to oppose the Bandh called by the BJP as the two parties fought over their political agenda.
Not only that, a BJP leader claimed that Trinamool Congress workers attacked his car. He claimed that 7 bullets were fired at the car in an alleged assassination bid.
খুঁজে বের করা হবে এবং প্রত্যেকের ফাঁসির দাবিতে এবং আইন বদলাতে হবে।
On the other hand, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee said that she will launch a movement to seek capital punishment for the accused in the case. Banerjee, who is facing calls to resign by the protesters, also said that she will amend state laws to fix death by hanging for the perpetrators of rape.
She also urged the demonstrating junior doctors to return to work and promised no action against them. But the junior doctors have rejected the Chief Minister's appeal to join duty, saying that they would not withdraw the agitation unless the demands are met.
Meanwhile, as the CBI continues its investigation, it will seek the opinion of medical experts from AIIMS Delhi to ascertain if the main suspect Sanjay Roy was the only one involved in the crime. He is currently under judicial custody.
The agency is also probing financial irregularities against the former principal of the hospital, Sandeep Ghosh. Well, as the probe continues, the Indian Medical Association has suspended his membership. Sandeep Ghosh has been accused of negligence in the matter, including failing to file a police complaint when the trainee doctor's body was found at the hospital. Moving on, Bangladesh's interim government has revoked a ban on the right-wing Jamaat-e-Islami, and this comes less than a month after it was outlawed by former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina.
The caretaker government, led by Nobel laureate Mohammad Yunus, has also lifted a ban on Jamaat-e-Islami student wing Islami Chhatra Shibir. The Sheikh Hasina administration announcing a ban on Jamaat-e-Islami under anti-terrorism law had accused its members of fomenting unrest during the student uprising.
Well, on Wednesday, issuing a Gazette notification, Bangladesh's Ministry of Home Affairs said there was no specific evidence of involvement of Jamaat and its affiliates in any kind of terrorist activities.
Earlier, Jamaat-e-Islami Party had condemned the ban as illegal, extrajudicial and unconstitutional, denying the allegations that it stoked violence during student protests against quota in government jobs.
Jamaat-e-Islami, with millions of supporters, has not been able to contest elections in Bangladesh since 2013. That is, after a court ruled that its charter violated the secular constitution of the country.
Hasina government banned the party on August 1st, just 4 days before she was removed from power. Meanwhile, 4 more cases have been filed against Bangladesh's deposed PM Sheikh Hasina, her former cabinet ministers and aides, taking the total number of cases filed against her to 75.
3 of the cases were filed with Dhaka courts on Tuesday itself, while another murder case was filed in Bogora earlier. With these, 76-year-old Hasina is now facing 63 cases of murder, 7 cases of crimes against humanity and genocide, and also 3 cases of abduction, 2 cases on other charges as well.
With the Taliban coming to power in Afghanistan, Afghan women have been through countless hardships.
And now, in a powerful act of defiance, Afghan women living abroad have joined forces with those still in Afghanistan and have chosen music as their weapon.
Now, through an online video, they are participating in a protest against a newly imposed law that bans women from raising their voices in public. These women are singing songs of resistance, challenging a regime that seeks to silence them. Take a look at this report.
bayrak aziz عشق سبز خواهد ماند در گذرگاه آتش در کنار آزادی گل شکفته خواهد شد یک بهار آزادی من سرود خواهم خواند بار بار آزادی من سرود خواهم خواند بار بار آزادی.
Typhoon Sansan slammed into Japan's main southern island of Kyushu earlier today.
It is now moving slowly northward off the southwest coast of Japan. Now, authorities are advising thousands of people to evacuate and have issued the highest warning level for wind and storm surges.
The weather office said that Japan's most powerful typhoon this year made landfall at around 8 a.m. local time, packing gusts of up to 252 kilometers per hour. Kyushu's utility operator said that around 254,000 houses are already without power. Heavy rain brought by Sansan has been lashing large parts of Japan since Tuesday.
The rain is intensifying not only in Kyushu but also in the Shikoku and Tokai regions and elsewhere as warm, moist air flows in. The weather office added that bands of heavy rain clouds have been generated in the northern part of Miyazaki and heavy rain is falling in the same areas. The bands of heavy rain clouds might also be generated in Kagoshima, including the Amami region, northern Kyushu and Yamaguchi prefecture in western Honshu. These are among other areas. The risk of disaster could sharply rise in these regions. The meteorological agency has said that it may issue emergency heavy rain warnings for Kagoshima and Miyazaki.
Auto giant Toyota has suspended production at all 14 of its factories in Japan right now.
Meanwhile, Japan Airlines cancelled 172 domestic flights and 6 international flights scheduled for Wednesday and Thursday, while All Nippon Airways cancelled 219 domestic flights and 4 international ones on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The cancellations affected around 25,000 people.
Kyushu Railway said that it is suspending some Shinkansen bullet train services between Kumamoto and Kagoshima from Wednesday night. Japanese rescue personnel managed to remove a survivor from a house damaged in a deadly landslide in central Japan, which was triggered by heavy rain brought by Typhoon Sansan. However, 3 members of a family died after the landslide buried the house in Gamagori, which is a city in central Aichi Prefecture. The deceased included a couple in their 70s as well as a son in their 30s. 2 adult daughters in their 40s survived with injuries.
Sansan comes in the wake of Typhoon Ampul, which disrupted hundreds of flights and trains this month. And Ampul came days after Tropical Storm Maria brought record rains to northern areas.
On the world of business now, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has made history as the first U.S. company outside of the tech sector to surpass a $1 trillion market capitalization.
Now, shares of the Omaha-based conglomerate rose by 0.8%, pushing the company's value over the $1 trillion mark for the first time. This milestone is a result of a 30% rally in 2024, driven by strong performance in Berkshire's insurance businesses and growing economic optimism. The company's gains this year have outpaced the S&P 500.
The company's achievement comes as its market value climbed by more than $200 billion in 2024 alone. The firm, led by Buffett, has consistently delivered strong returns with an annual growth rate of 20% since 1965. Despite its massive size, the company's diversified portfolio, it continues to perform well, benefiting from rising consumer confidence and expectations of a Fed Reserve rate cut in September.
While Berkshire Hathaway's rally has been impressive, the company has also made strategic moves to manage risk. In recent weeks, Berkshire sold off 129 million shares of Bank of America, generating $5.4 billion. Despite the sales, Berkshire remains the largest shareholder of the bank with over 900 million shares. The shift away from Bank of America comes as Berkshire looks to reduce exposure to the financial sector while maintaining its position as a leader in diversified investments. Meanwhile, lower interest rates could affect returns on Berkshire's cash reserve, a factor to watch as this year progresses. All right, now let's take a look at the developments from the world of technology. A U.S. appeals court has reopened a lawsuit against TikTok by the mother of 10-year-old who had died after trying the blackout challenge. The viral challenge encouraged users to choke themselves until they passed out. Usually, the Communication Decency Act protects internet companies from being sued over user content, but the Philadelphia 3rd U.S. Circuit Court has ruled that this law doesn't stop the mother from suing TikTok for its algorithm suggesting the challenge to her daughter. This ruling breaks from past interpretations of the law, especially after a recent Supreme Court decision which said that algorithms reflect a company's own speech. As a result, the court overturned the previous dismissal of the case, allowing the mother to continue her lawsuit against TikTok and its parent company, ByteDance.
According to a survey conducted by Bitkom, Germany's largest digital technology industry association, cybercrime and other acts of sabotage that has costed German companies around $298 billion in 2023. Researchers interviewed over 1,000 German companies from all sectors for the survey. It was found that around 90% of these companies expect more cyber attacks in the next 12 months, with the remaining 10% expecting the same level of attacks. Around 70% of companies that were targeted attributed the attacks to organized crime. Most companies reported data theft, including customer data, access data and passwords, as well as intellectual property such as patents. While 45% companies believe China to be behind the cyber attacks, Russia came in close at 39%.
A study from Sweden has revealed that generative AI tools like ChatGPT are popular among students who struggle with paying attention. Researchers examined how teenagers use and perceive AI chatbots in their homework. Surveys reveal that about 53% of older students use AI chatbots compared to 15% of younger students. Findings suggest that the reason could be that older students face more complex assignments, leading them to use AI tools more frequently. The study found that students with attention difficulties found these tools especially helpful for completing assignments, highlighting that AI can be a valuable aid for those facing cognitive challenges. The findings are intended to guide educators, policymakers, and technology developers in understanding the role of AI in education.
Let's now take a quick look at all the stories making headlines in the world of sports. The Paralympics Games are underway after a spectacular 4-hour-long opening ceremony in the heart of Paris. Thousands of athletes paraded down the famed Champs-Élysées to Place de la Concorde, where French President Emmanuel Macron officially declared the Games open. The opening ceremony was held outside the confines of a stadium, just like for the Paris Games on July 26th. Fighter planes flew overhead, leaving red, white and blue vapors in the color of the French national flag. 5 French para-athletes lit the candle before the ceremony ended with fireworks.
Defending champion Coco Gauff breezed into the third round of the U.S. Open after a straight sets win over veteran Tatiana Maria. The American did not begin well and was struggling with her serve. She made 7 double faults along with 20 unforced errors but managed to win the opening set. Gauff cleaned up her game in the second set. She rained down 15 winners and only made 5 unforced errors. The third seed did not drop a game against the German in the second set to register a 6-4, 6-love win in 1 hour and 20 minutes. Gauff will now lock horns with Ukraine's Elina Svitolina.
6th seed Andrei Rublev came back from 2 sets down to defeat Frenchman Arthur Rinderknecht in the second round of the US Open. The Russian looked down and out at the end of the second set in grueling hot conditions. Rublev was struggling physically and mentally but dug deep. He shifted the momentum of the match by breaking the Frenchman to love in the opening service game of the third set. Rublev dropped just 5 games across the last 3 sets to earn a 4-6, 5-7, 6-1, 6-2, 6-2 win in 4 hours and 6 minutes. Next up for him is Eze Leshika, who also fought back from 2 sets down to reach the third round.